when I wrote The Slave Side of Sunday, is people ask, Anthony, what motivated you to write a book like that? Playing football, 1 year in high school, 4 years in college, 11 years in the pros. The things I witnessed and experienced and how players would talk to me, players would come and cry to me because the coach talked to them a certain way, and how players would come to me and say, you know what, man, this is not what I thought it was going to be, my NFL experience or my Division I experience. Man, these coaches are challenging me, not on my athleticism, AP. They're challenging me on my manhood, calling me a black bastard, calling me out of my name, talking about my mama, things of that nature, trying to break my will. And a few times I was challenged too, but not in such a strong manner in which other players were challenged. I don't know whether they recognized something in me that I wasn't going to allow that, or it was just, I guess, something about me. They just didn't really come at me like that. But I have been challenged. And so my whole motivation for writing this book is to let everybody that has never had a football experience or who is in pursuit of trying to get to that next level read my book, because these are some of the things that you might be faced with. You could have a possible contract here on Monday, but then on Sunday the coach challenges your manhood in such a way that if you talk back or say something to defend your manhood, contract's off the table. So I felt that I had to write this book. I wanted people to know what I experienced, what my eyes have seen and my ears heard, with this game that people are so in love with called football, that takes so much from the human body, but it gives nothing to the human soul. So, that's my motivation for the Slave Side of Sunday, because a lot of athletes, they don't know what they're getting themselves into. A lot of them feel that they are physically capable, which they are, but are you mentally tough enough? Can you mentally endure getting cut, getting traded, getting challenged by this coach, getting challenged by that coach, moving your family, feeling you made the team, knowing you're better than this player, then you get cut, knowing that when you got cut, the player that they kept to replace you or to keep your position, in your heart and the players around and the other teammates knew that you were better than that player. How does that feel on the ego? That's crushing. I've gone through that. There's been times I've been cut, but I felt I was better than a certain player. I'm like, man, I'm better than him. How can this team talk about winning a championship, and yet you cut a player like myself, or cut this great linebacker, or you cut this great receiver, you cut this great running back that you knew could help this team win, could help this team reach the playoffs, could help this team win a championship? Why get rid of a player like that? And yet you say you want the best players on the team, and you want to win, and you want victory. That's why Barry Sanders retired abruptly, because he felt that team did not want to win a championship. They didn't want to win because some of the transactions that took place. That's why Barry Sanders retired. It's not that he didn't have no love for the game, but some of the things that he saw going on in the front office.
Talk about you on paper. Tell the people a little bit about you, man. Just give us a little something.
Oh, man. Well, you know what? I played 1 year of high school football.
All right, I missed that. Doggone it.
You missed it? Oh, that's okay. I didn't actually get a chance to play college football until I was a senior in college. And the reason why I got that opportunity was the guy who was ahead of me was twice the athlete, but the coach called him in the privacy of his office and told that kid to take the chip off his shoulder, because without him and that university, he'd be in two places, somebody's jail or somebody's cemetery. And that mentally messed up that athlete. And that's why I got a chance to shine, and forge an 11-year professional football career.
And with you coming in And now you say you started in what year in college?
My senior year. My senior.
In college?
I did not start my freshman year. I did not start my sophomore year. I did not start my junior year. I didn't start until I was a senior in college.
So that meant, and so what was one of your biggest assets you think that got you out there along with your attitude? Was it also your speed?
It was my speed, and I was a character guy. I always worked hard. I always stayed after practice. It wasn't a matter of trying to brown nose anybody, but I wanted to maximize my athletic potential. And, you know, a lot of guys, they have that potential, but that potential is put on a shelf. And a lot of times if you don't develop that potential, you know, you'll be lost in the shuffle. That's happened to a lot of players. You have a lot of gifted players, but there's so much talent out there, a lot of guys just get put on the shelf. You know, so that's why it's easy for a lot of coaches to oversell dreams and undersell these promises. And that's why you see a lot of athletes, after they have a bad experience in sports, whether it's high school, college, or the pros, they're never the same. They're kind of locked in that moment.
Oh, man, yeah, I guess, you know, it can kind of mess you up, especially if you didn't really know all about you and it was actually maybe that particular sport that, you know, you were more or less telling everybody about, or everybody thought that's, you know, that's all you knew. You know, if you don't, it's
exactly, because it starts at a young age, Jerry. It starts at a very young age. You know, sometimes parents, pastors, counselors, teachers, coaches, they're guilty of it, planting this seed in that young mind, you know, telling them, oh, you're so fast, you're going to run the Olympics. Oh, you're such a great athlete, you're so big, you're going to be a football player. Oh, you're going to be a baseball player, you're going to be a basketball player. And we just keep feeding that and just keep feeding it. And when those expectations are not met, you know, that kid, you know, he's faced with a hellish future. And I've seen a lot of athletes that were tremendous men, could be scholars, could be Rhodes scholars, but just because sports didn't work out for them, they feel unfulfilled in their lives, and they wind up walking around with a bad attitude. Just because sports doesn't work out, America has demanded for the black athlete to be at his best at sports, and we have answered that call and went beyond our own expectations. Now, when we don't meet that expectations to the general public, we feel less of a person. You know, just because it's our physical gifts that keeps the audience at awe, you know. They're mesmerized at us, how we perform on the field.
But now, it's a lot of money in sports. Now, and with that being said, I know it's a game. It's an industry.
It's a business. Absolutely.
You know, it's a business for real. Now, in regards to just getting to the money, like in the NFL, what are your views on the agents and the role they play? Do you feel it's exploitation here when it comes to money, or what? These
are the facts. You know, the sports industry is it's twice the size as the automobile industry. It's 7 times the size as the movie industry. It's a $350 billion a year industry, and the salaries are $6 billion. African Americans in football, basketball, and baseball make up $4.6 billion annually. But a lot of that money is not being allocated back into our communities, because a lot of the sports agents that come in and sign these athletes, you know, they have their own investors, and they're looking after their own interests, their own culture, and their own communities. And so that's why our communities look the way they do. And, you know, I hear announcers and all these sportscasters always talking about, oh, sports saves the black boy from the ghetto. Well, if sports saves the little black boy in the ghetto, there shouldn't be a ghetto in America.
That's right. I got that. You're absolutely right. So you feel that the role that these people are playing, that this money is going through their hand, they're really not spreading the wealth or doing all that they need to do.
Absolutely. You know, individually, you got a lot of black athletes doing a lot of great things in their communities. But collectively, we can do a whole lot better.
Okay,
it starts with the agent. It starts with who's representing you.
Right.
Because you know what? There needs to be a program set from poverty to prosperity. And a lot of players fail in that transition. You know, Michael Vick is a good example. You know, this guy went from This guy went from being poor to tremendous wealth.
Yeah, and I mean, he just made some bad choices.
Yeah, made some very bad choices. But then we got to look at how did Michael Vick spend his off season. He's a tremendous athlete, and every young black kid was inspiring to be just like him.
This is true.
Thing is, yes, but the thing about it is this. How did Michael Vick spend his off season? Did he spend his off season traveling outside the country? Did he spend his off season with investors that can help him invest that $137 million that he had access to? Imagine what $2 or $3 million can do just for one community.
So with that being said, like, let's say, for instance, the players themselves, because, I mean, I know we can put some weight and focus and a lot of it on the agents, but then how about on the players themselves in general and the salaries they receive? Do you feel like that they're actually, do you think they overpaid? I mean, I don't want to have
some players, you know what? Some players I feel are overpaid, and some players I feel are underpaid. I feel that sports should just have a base salary. If you're a starter, you receive this amount of money. If you're a backup, you receive this amount of money. And I think that would eliminate all of these prima donnas on the football field.
Okay, it's going to be a lot of people. Go ahead on. I'm just going to say there's going to be a lot of people that ain't going to agree with that one. They say, man, you're messing up my $100 million contract. What is wrong with you?
Exactly. But you know what? That's why sports is failing us today, because of favoritism. You give MVP awards and individual awards to a player participating in a team sport. That should make you question everything right there.
Yeah, you're right. Because a lot of it goes back to markability, because we're looking at, can we sell our products on this person's head?
Absolutely.
They looking for good-looking guys that also got a clean, squeaky clean image, but, they want you to look good in front of the camera, too. So, it's, we can work with that. I can see us making our money back on this one right here. So I understand now. I'm quite familiar with the great read that you have, The Slave Side of Sunday, that you've authored. Just when did you write it?
I wrote that book when I was in Canada, and I just put it on the shelf, and I would add to it, and, take some things out and add to it. It was just, I started writing that book 3 years before I retired, because when I was, my last 3 years of playing professional football, I realized I was in the past, and that helped me transition. I knew that. I said to myself, you know what, Anthony, this is not going to last forever. And the same passion, the same enthusiasm that I had for playing football hit my pen. So then I began to write. And I began to write about how coaches challenge players. And I started to write about, just my personal experience, the experiences that fans don't get a chance to see.
Yeah.
I get a chance to inspire some of these fathers that are pushing their young boys to have fame on the football field. And these fortune-seeking mothers, I encourage them as well. It's like, if you're going to spend 2 hours, on the, taking your child to a professional trainer or, this agility camp, spend an hour and a half reading. Don't forget, you got to balance it out, because your mind can take you further than your body. Yes, you can make a lot of money playing professional sports. Yes, you could set yourself up for life. But at the same time, only a few will actually benefit. Just to break the numbers down, you have over 1 million high school football players each year. 13,000 get football scholarships out of high school.
That's what I want to hear. I want you to break it down, give it to me like we got on that YouTube, where you end up telling how many are and few are. I can't remember, man. You don't know how much.
Look, it's like this. Okay, it's like this. It's all in my head. There's 2 things that don't lie. That's God and mathematics. Every year you have over 1 million high school football players. At the same time, you have 54,000 college football players on all levels. 13,000 get football scholarships. The NFL will actively scout 6,000. 340 will get invited to the NFL Combine. 320 will sign NFL contracts. Less than 4 years of play, 130 players remain, and about 85 are black. Millions dream, thousands sacrifice, but only a few are going to benefit. See, team sports, and realize this, team sports can be manipulated. They can take a below-average player, surround him with great players to compensate his weaknesses. They do that all the time. You know, team sports is not a time to have a bad attitude, because a lot of players can get blackballed, they get shunned, they get left out, they get pushed out, and they wonder why. I said, if you want to have an attitude, won't you run track or be a boxer or be a golfer? Then you can do whatever you want to do. But when you're in a team sport, you know what? Sometimes, hey, man, the objective here is to get paid. Every player that plays professional sports is motivated. Some say championships because that sounds good on television. You know, some says I'm doing the work of God, which sounds good for some of these Christian organizations. But it all boils down to is green. That's what they want to see. The owners want to see championships.
That's right.
Because the black community, the two things that we have suffered the most from is slavery and the pursuit of sports. And the reason why I say that is this. See, you can change the scenery, but the situation remains the same. You know, after playing 11 years of professional football, you know, I've dedicated my life, you know, in that box. And so I know something about that. And so the things that I share with you, I'm giving you an inside perspective. And everybody's experience is the same. So whether I speak, I don't care if people don't agree with me. Not everybody agreed with Jesus. You understand?
That's right.
And slavery is not limited to bondage or chains. We got athletic slavery going on in America today, and it starts at a very young age, because I see it every single day when young black boys come to my speed and agility camp. The first thing they say is, this is all I can do. All I can do is be a football player or a basketball player or a baseball player or run track. I don't see myself doing anything else, Anthony. I've got to be faster. Help me become faster so I can have an opportunity to get to the pros, to get to that next level like you did. And I get a chance to pull them aside and get a chance to have a real talk with them and let them know the math behind it. And let them know that the chain of command you got to go through. See, because when you're in high school, if you got a bad attitude, when the college calls down to the high school, says, oh, that guy got the bad attitude, you're gone.
Yeah, that blackball you right there.
When you come to my speed camp, you got to take your earrings out of your ear. I don't want to see your tattoos. I don't want to see you sagging. You got to represent yourself as a statesman. Because you got to look at it like this. The black athlete in America sustains the sports industry.
Give me the part. I don't mean to cut across you, but it comes. Look, and see, I finally got the man I see in the video. Give me the one about the pod with the wooden, how they used to come to us with the canoe, and now with the Cadillac. Oh, man, because it's so many people that's in the chat room, man.
It's like this. You know, there's, you see, a speech is to be heard, not to be read, you know. And so basically it's, you know, how did the enslaver show up when he colonized you in Africa? He showed up in a wooden ship with a leather whip. And how is he showing up today in the ghettos and slums of America, passing out scholarships, you know? He's pulling up in a limousine with leather seats, you know?
Man, I'm crazy about you, man. You know, I mean, it's just you got so much strength. I just love it. You just keep right on rolling. And it's good things that you're saying. You're giving good information, and people should really just, you know, take a look at what they're really looking at. Do they really see the forest for the trees?
Absolutely, because, you know, they got to realize, you know, in 2011, I don't think the NFL is going to have a salary cap, you know, so sports is going global. And so these athletes that I train, I said, man, you got to represent yourself like a CEO. Because I'm tired of watching television sometimes and getting embarrassed of a sport that I dedicated myself to, and then I got to watch fools on television. You see, what we're witnessing today, Jerry, in sports is the antithesis of what sports was supposed to be about. You know, a lot of the black athletes is almost like a buffoon show, a minstrel show.
Yep.
That's right.
See,
that's right. I hear you back there, Joan.
The sports industry is this. The black athlete, he is a leader. Because when he says he's going to score a touchdown, he scores it. When he says he's going to win a championship, he wins it. When he says he's going to win a gold medal, he wins it. And his word means something to the young children. When's the last time our mayors and our elected officials have promised better schools and better education in a YMCA? They haven't delivered on the word yet. An athlete delivers on his word.
Right.
That's why the black athlete is worshipped in America. That's why they wear his jersey. You know, they pay $50 and $60. They can't even keep the lights on in the house, but they're going to wear his jersey.
You got it.
Absolutely. And it's biblical as well. Just as we go to church, we wait for Jesus to perform a miracle in the church for our lives. The same thing we do. We go to football stadiums waiting for players to perform a miracle on the field. Make us feel good inside.
Hey,
you know?
You're
make
right.
us feel
You're
good.
right now.
Make us feel good.
And I got to admit, I'm sitting right there only using half of my seat looking for a miracle.
Well, the whole thing is this. The state of the sports industry. How do I get all I can out of sports before it gets all it can out of me?
You right.
So when you actually go into sports, represent yourself. Be polished when you go to sports. Go into sports looking like Barack Obama and come out looking like Barack Obama.
Right.
Don't go into sports strong and intelligent and come out broke and disgusted and on your way to jail.
Yeah.
That happens today. These are the stories that we don't listen to, that we don't hear, because the media and television has pumped our minds up like, oh, man, these guys make millions of dollars. Not everybody makes millions of dollars. You take the Dallas Cowboys, for instance. Only 15 of their players, 10% of each team, 10% of the players make the bulk of the money. 10% make the bulk of the money.
Wow. Jimmy Jones. Okay.
Like you got 10 players on the Dallas Cowboys in 2008. Only 10 of the players had a base salary of $1 million or more. Everybody else had incentives here and there, signing bonuses and stuff. Now, the thing about it is, you got to know the science of money. You got to know how money, how to make your money work for you.
That's right. Instead of you just working for your money.
I tell them this: go buy some houses.
That's right.
Real estate. That's my whole thing. Real estate. You can see your money. I ain't gonna play no stock market. Don't tell me I got $100,000 on Monday and I got no money on Tuesday, because somebody gonna get hurt.
I knew he was going there. Okay.
Somebody gonna get hurt.
Well, the thing is,
well, look, I'm gonna calm you down for a minute. This is how I can calm you down. Is there a spiritual side to all of this that you're doing?
Oh man. I don't know where that question came from.
I had to throw some cold water on you, man. I had to throw the reality bucket on you, get you back, because you already told me.
I'm so passionate about sports. I just love it.
I had to take your game all the way from you.
Jerry, listen, Jerry, I felt lucky. And I still feel lucky to this day. When I do my book shows, 40, 50 people in these little mom and pop bookstores, man, I feel lucky to be there. I just feel lucky. Now, the spirituality side of sports.
Yeah.
My next book, Black Horses, White Cotton, and Religion.
I can't wait for
will
that.
Be released next month in February. It kind of goes deep into religion and sports. We got to realize, in 1977, Herb Lusk for the Philadelphia Eagles scored a touchdown, bent on his knee, gave a sign of the cross, and that was the very first time of a public display of faith in sports.
Tell that again now so everybody can hear that. That was when and where and with who?
It was 1977. Herb Lusk ran down the football field, scored a touchdown for the Philadelphia Eagles. And, he got on a knee, gave the sign of the cross, and he publicly displayed his faith on national TV in a sporting event. That was the first time. and he said that he did it for the glory of God because God had blessed him. And I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa. You mean to tell me you got two football teams, both teams believing in the same God of heaven and earth. Both teams pray for victory. Both teams pray that, they're injury-free. After the game, one team wins, another team loses. There's multiple injuries. Do you mean to tell me God loves one team more than he loves the other? The question is this. God gave us free will and free choice to shape our life to our choosing. When you go on a football field, you are subjecting yourself to death, paralysis. You can get embarrassed. You can lose your job, a number of things. When I played professional football, I went into what I call survival mode, just like in war. A lot of people say, well, Anthony, God is in everything that we do. I said, yeah, God is in everything that we do, but God is not in every action that we do. God is not in the action of war. He's not in the action of slavery, professional football, boxing, killing, murder. I don't know no kind of God like that. Mm-hmm. So to bring God into football, where men die on this field of their own choosing, I got a problem with that.
Right. Yeah,
you're going to play football. Playing football is this. God doesn't care about football. Men care about this game.
Yeah.
I love football because it gave me time off during the year, Gave me a nice living. Provided all life's essentials. But at the same time, I wasn't a loudmouth. I wasn't a high-profile player. You don't need to be a high-profile player to come out and tell the truth and inspire people.
That's right.
You just got to have a voice, and you got to have a message, and you got to be able to, speak to the people directly and make it plain.
Well, I am so glad that that the Lord has worked in a manner to allow you to take your experiences, all you've seen, and then transform you into the great orator that you are right now, to be able to show others in living color exactly what the real deal is. Now, how in your opinion, does history factor into everything you do? I mean, you've given me a brief synopsis of how you feel as though this, there's a spiritual side to all that you're doing. But now, does history factor in there anywhere? Is anything about and have anything to do with history that
Absolutely, and how history factors into it, because history factors in everything that we do. I mean, we've all heard the saying, today has been built on yesterday, and tomorrow will be built on today.
Right.
Professional football started in 1896 in Latrobe, Pennsylvania. From 1896 to 1905, you had over 118 serious injuries. You had over 15 deaths, and absolutely nothing was done about it, Jerry. And then in 1902, Charles W. Folis, the first black professional football player, took to the field in Canton, Ohio. He was nicknamed the Black Cyclone because he was so far superior than his competition. Now listen to this. Now this is true. You can just look. This is in the history book. They need to look it up. When President Theodore Roosevelt saw the likeness of Charles Folis, he got intimidated. And what did he do in 1905? He called on Harvard, Yale, and Princeton to reform the game of football. And then from there came in 1906, the forward pass. And Franklin Roosevelt said, you know what? The quarterback position is going to represent the presidency of the United States of America, a position of leadership, decision-making power, authority, statesmanship, a position a black man will never hold. That's why it took so long. That's why it took so long for the black quarterback to evolve, because we got to go back to the history of it all. So when we see Barack Obama in office, I know where it all resonated from, because I knew we were supposed to do a black president when I saw the black quarterback evolve. I read that. I put that in my book. I put that in my first book, Faith on 40 Yards. You see? And then we got to understand this, too. What happened in 1919 after World War I? Give you a little lineage right here. After World War I, was the rise of the Ku Klux Klan. And because of the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, from 1919 until 1933, only 13 blacks played in the NFL. So, Anthony, what happened in the first part of the NFL? In 1920, 1921, Native Americans were considered the best professional football players in America because they were winning championships. That's right. Let me break it down a little bit more. Now, from 1934 to 1945, all blacks were banned from the NFL. And that was because of the Great Depression. They didn't want to see, it started during the Great Depression, they didn't want to see a black man make more money than a white man.
Come on,
1934, man. Absolutely. The Great Depression had a big influence on why blacks were banned from the NFL. They didn't want to see a black man making more money than a white person. That's amazing, isn't it? But then from there, we went and formed the Negro Football League. And the Negro Football League began to grow and begin to expand. And a lot of the players in the Negro Football League were making more money than the top white players in the all-white NFL. Then after World War II, 1946, the all-black Professional Football League was looking to become the competitors of the all-white NFL. And the all-white NFL said, we don't want that. So what they did, they reintegrated the NFL. And then in 1946, with Kenny Washington leading the way and Marion Motley, that's why they reintegrated. And now you look today, ever since that reintegration in 1946, the black athlete has taken the NFL to $1 billion-plus market, yet we have no owner within the industry. We are the record breakers and the trendsetters, yet we have no voice within the industry.
So you're saying it's like modern-day slavery still keeping on?
Absolutely.
I figured that.
Absolutely.
Man, I didn't know that that's when they came up with the forward pass, and that's how the forward pass came about, and the quarterback position.
Yeah, we got to study that. We got to learn that.
Man.
It even goes deeper than that.
But break it down, man, because and I know I got to have you back again, because you got more stories than the Highway Patrol, and you got good stuff to tell, man. And it's you got a staunch follower and fan that's in the chat room, and the man just want to be able to say that he talked to a black hero like you. I asked him, I said, why don't you go and put in the chat room? He said, man, can I just hear the man on the telephone? so I mean, and you giving it up.
I look at it, it's just like when I look at the black athlete, whether you look at anything in life, anything that has a lineage, you find prophecy in that. And black people, we are very spiritual people.
Right.
That's why I said my pro experience has shown the slave ships have turned into commercial airlines, and the cotton fields have been transformed into football fields. Somebody said, Anthony, how can you say something like that? I say, listen to this, brother. I say, listen to this. See, everybody has a way of connecting with God, and we have meaning in our life. Things that we do and the things that we share with people give us meaning. And sports, gives me an opportunity to share with people, not only about sports, but about life as well. And so for me to come up with that conclusion is like this. In between 1444 and 1888, you had 53,000 slave voyages to the New World. The slave ship Amistad, when the slaves took that ship over, they had 53 slaves on that ship. The NFL has a roster of 53.
Here we go.
The country of Africa has 53 countries. The continent of Africa has 53 countries. A slave ship, Africa, and the black athlete represent private property, profit, and wealth. And we can even take it a step further. in Cuba, they had hunting dogs that used to be deported. They used to come to America to catch runaway slaves. And those dogs were just trained to catch runaway slaves. Anytime they left the Cuban shore to come to the shores of America, they came to sniff out the slaves. And even today, if you want to call Cuba on an international call, you have to dial 53.
53.
So we got to understand this. Spain had its 311. America had its 911. As a black African-American professional athlete, I have my 5'3" every day because I always think about those bodies that are still on the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean.
That's right. That's
53
right.
resonates inside of me.
Oh, man, that is so heavy. And anybody that's in the chat room that was down with 53, please tell me. If you're not getting some knowledge here today, so anyone that's just tuning in, and Max, I know you're on the line, and you're going to get a chance to ask your question in just a second. For anyone that is just tuning in, you are listening to the prolific Anthony Pryor, and, man, this guy's touching my heart. He's such a down-to-earth guy. And you all know I know how to size it up and play games and do a whole lot of Hollywood stuff, but this is an original man here. And his topic today is the slave side of Super Bowl Sunday. Man, he's the author of this wonderful book called The Slave Side of Sunday. You must go out and get this book so that he can impart even more knowledge with you so that you can find out more. Let me let Max ask. Max, you there? You the only one I'm letting in right now. You got a chance right now to talk to Mr. Anthony Pryor. Are you there, Max?
Yes, I'm here. Peace, Jerry Butler. Peace, Brother Anthony Pryor.
Hey, peace. How you doing, bro?
Oh, everything is good. My name is Max Partis. We recently just awarded you with an award, and I just want to say congratulations and let you know that we really appreciate what you're doing. We sent you the Ubuntu Award as well as sending it to Arlena, the e-publicist.
Oh, great. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it was for what you're doing as a word warrior. I can't say that I'm a great sports fan or anything like that, but I am a fan of a person who uses his voice to make a change in the world, and you are doing that to untold levels, and I cannot say how much we appreciate you for bringing out the truth when others are afraid to do so.
Oh, thank you.
Hey, Max, that was a great piece, and that was Max Parthas. And you can stay on the line and continue to listen if you like, Max, or go back in the chat room. But Max will be on our show as well, a very talented individual, and that's a beautiful thing. You don't know how well thought of you are by so many, which is why we have to continue to put forth a concerted effort to let people know about you. You like a unsung hero. You forbidden fruit. You are indeed an unsung hero, and we want everybody to know about it. This is an inspirational show. I would just love to be able to continue to have you back again and again. It's just, you leave me speechless because you just got so much going for you, and you know so much, and you just learn so much. I don't know where you get it from. I know you get it from the Lord, but who hipped you to the 53? Who told you about that? How you found out about that?
As a writer, I'm always thinking. I get a chance to go to the mountains, be in that isolation, and with no distractions.
Which mountains you hanging out in? Angeles National Forest or where, so I can make sure?
Sometimes I go to Big Bear Mountain or I go to Arrowhead in Southern California.
Right. Okay. I forgot the boxer.
Sometimes we got to get up there in Big Bear, Oscar de la Hoya.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I couldn't bring. That's exactly right.
Because when you go up to the mountains, you get away. You get out of the matrix. When you're in the city, Los Angeles or Riverside, it's congested. You got smog. You got a lot of people complaining. Oh, the economy and this. You got to get away from that, Jerry. You got to get out of the matrix and get a chance to listen to the voice of God in your head.
Yeah, you're right, man. I'm telling you, Lord.
You know, because a lot of the young kids that I get a chance to inspire, they always talk about they have dreams. They have big dreams. Oh, man, I got a big dream. I'm playing the NFL. Oh, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna be a rapper. I said, that is great, but it's not good enough to have a dream. You got to define your dream. You got to, okay, well, how are you going to do this? What's your strategic plan of fulfilling this dream? It's just not good enough to have a dream. Define it. Write it out. Let's talk about it. How are you going to do that? With tattoos at 15 years old. You're talking about, you know, you go to church and you're saying you're saying you're a Christian, you go to church and, you know, you score a touchdown and you point to the heavens, but yet on your arms and on your neck, everything that you got tattooed on your body, Christ would be against. So where's the balance here? You just wear the tattoo, just score the touchdown, and just give glory to yourself. You know?
Man, I really admire you and all that you do. Now, let me ask you this. You know, because every question I ask you is indeed a very thought-provoking question. In your opinion, what are we witnessing today in the terms of the state of the sports industry, just as a spectator, as well as from the vantage point as as a fan? You know, what you know.
Right now, we're witnessing, as a general public in America, we're witnessing, you know, our economy collapsing and, you know, people throwing money at the problem. As we look at athletics, athletics is a time for people to come together and celebration, and, you know, they love their favorite team or their favorite athlete. But what I'm scared is because of the numbers of black men going to prison. I'm talking young boys in the ages 18 to 30 that are going to prison. They say by the year 2030, we will be able to watch a football game from the viewpoint of our favorite player, coach, even referee. We won't even have to go to the game. The thing is, the rate that we are going to jails and prisons, and, you know, sports are going to go to the prison complexes of America. And the only way, in my opinion and my philosophy, to stop that process, if the sports industry does not give back to the black community, I'm talking huge amounts of money to our communities, to rebuild our communities, we're going to have to call upon the black athlete from Pop Warner, from high school, from college, to pros on all levels. We're going to have to shut down the sports industry in America. If not, sports is going to go into the prison complexes, because even today, this is how the thinking is. You have 53 men per roster. You have 32 teams. That represents 1,696 jobs. 65% are black, which is roughly 1,100. You got 1.1 million black men in prison today. So every time you see a black athlete excel on Sunday afternoon, he represents 10,000 in prison. So when you see this Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, when you see a brother score a touchdown and the fans go crazy, realize there are some innocent brothers in prison locked behind bars that can run circles around him scoring that touchdown.
You know.
So why not bring sports into the prison complexes of America and have a sports complex in prison, and where you don't have to pay the athlete? Just let him perform on Sunday and go back to his cage on Monday, because a lot of America is getting tired of seeing a black athlete flaunt his wealth in front of everybody. We got to understand how fragile sports is and how it can collapse and how the black athlete can vanish really quick. You take away the forward pass in football and the dunk in basketball, you can eliminate the black athlete. But you don't want to listen to me. You got to get your character. That's why you hear the sports announcers talk about character, looking for character athletes. They're not looking for Sambo. Looking for some character athletes. And an athlete that can represent that franchise. Because if I owned an NFL franchise, I want players that are polished. I want players that got good character, that are good representation of my franchise, my ethics, my morality, my integrity. I don't want nobody going out getting DUI, beating their wife up, going to jail, carrying guns, shooting themselves. Put that nigga in jail.
Pretty much.
See? Because they look at us. A pastor once told me when I was playing professional football, he said the black athlete needs religion. He needs Christianity because he cannot function in a free society. I almost whooped his you-know-what. But I was like, what?
Tell me that again before I dumped the Gatorade bottle on you, calm me down. What did the pastor say?
A chaplain told me that, you know what, Anthony? The black athlete, he needs religion, he needs Christianity because he cannot function in a free society. He'll always mess up.
But the sad part about it, man, is it seems like it's a bunch of us out here that continue to prove him right. Not saying everybody does, but it's a lot of people that, I think after they get in that...
Powers, you have to keep that fool in front. You have to keep the clown in front.
Yeah.
That way, you got to keep the clown in front because you don't want him to exercise his autonomy. You don't want him to exercise his economic power. Because Imagine this. Imagine the whole NFL was filled with Muhammad Ali's and Kurt Floods.
Yeah.
You can't have that.
They can't. No. Lord, I got to take a pistol and shoot myself or jump off the nearest building or bridge. You know they roll. I mean, there's a bunch of people that rolled over in their graves after January the 20th. I looked at a lot of faces.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I looked at a lot of faces where, a lot of people.
It all relates to sports. But people don't want to see that. Barack Obama, John McCain, all the presidents, they talk about football. Because the quarterback position, when it was developed and invented, the quarterback position, because you know what he does? The quarterback, he throws the bomb, and he throws the bullet, and he throws the Hail Mary.
Oh, my goodness.
That's what we got to realize. The quarterback position represents the presidency of America.
Man, this has been heavy on my mind. Look. I'm up against the clock with only 4 minutes. I got to have you back. Man, I got so many questions to ask you, and you've imparted so much knowledge. I have to ask you, I have to beg you, I have to implore you, will you please come back?
Absolutely.
You ever seen when James Brown used to come on the stage? Was one song he would always sing when they throw the cape on him, and he tried to get him on and said, please don't go. And I'm telling you, you know what I'm talking about. And they would be saying, I'm telling you, I don't want you to go. I'm glad you're hanging around for another segment. And maybe we might have somebody on the line. Let me see. I'm going to go out to 319. I'm going to give somebody the pleasure of hearing your lovely voice to find out if, in fact, they're listening or they have a question. I'm in area code 319. You're on the Jerry Butler Show live. Are you listening to Mr. Aaron Pryor, who's discussing this topic of the slave side of Super Bowl Sunday, or did you have a question?
Actually, I'm posted on your panel coming up.
Okay, just hold on right there. I got you covered. Just stay right there. Let me go a little bit further here and see what else I can find because I know if somebody want to say something to you. I'm going to go to 919 and see what you got going on. 919, that's in 1712. So are you just listening or do you have a comment or anything like that? Have you been enjoying what you've been hearing so far?
It's marvelous, Jerry.
Okay. Oh, that's my favorite doctor on the line. Thank you so much. I'm glad to know that, and call me after the show for sure. Thank you once again. Let me see here. 718. Got you in the house. 4640. Are you there?
We are. How you doing, Jerry?
I'm doing just fine. And see, you a sports advocate. You even got your own sports show, so I know you can appreciate what we hear, what you're hearing here tonight, and that sort of thing.
Yeah, let me say this. I'm very impressed. I want to applaud you guys for a terrific book anyway. But I want to ask you each a question. This is very quickly. Do you have any highlights of your playing career, your best plays of your playing career, either one of you guys?
No, it's only one on the line.
Okay.
Yes, I have that.
Okay. Do you have a personal highlight of your best play in your playing career in your NFL or the TF done?
I do.
Okay, tell me one of them.
Well, one was USC, ABC, 1991. I ran a kickoff return 100 yards. With the Jets against the Buffalo Bills, I ran down on a kickoff and just knocked the guy out. There's so many.
Wait a minute.
Also with the Jets, I knocked out the punt returner from the Houston Oilers. I forget his name.
Well, he probably forgot his name too after you ran into him like that.
But he had a couple of by the Giants anyway, so it's always been a classic when I look back at these great years. And listen, I'm definitely going to pick up your book because I'm impressed. I'm very emotional about it. I will.
That are very aware, are very conscious, very articulate. Have a lot of influence because of what they've done, what they represent, but they're not buttering their own bread. So I'm just cut from a different cloth. I'm married to the truth. I love waking people up. I'm not trying to direct people right now to do something. I just want to make them aware. I want to be very informative. So if you're pushing your kid and your child towards sports, some red flags to look for. If the coaches is overselling dreams and underselling promises, you got to be very aware of that. If the coach has never been to the next level and he's talking about the next level, he's a liar. You see? There's so much to be learned. There's so much to learn in sports. Mm-hmm. It's not all about competition all the time. It's about communication. It's about teamwork. It's about commitment. It's about responsibility. You see? Those are some of the things you can learn in sports, and then you can take them on in other areas of life. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying eradicate yourself from sports because that's not going to happen. But if things remain the same, in the next few years, in middle school, high school, college, and the pros, we're going to have to shut down the whole sports industry in America. Black athletes are going to have to do that in order to catch people's attention, because the black athlete is the most powerful commodity in America today. Why do I say that? Because when he says he's going to win a championship, he wins it. When he says he's going to win a gold medal, he wins it. When he says that he's going to dominate, he dominates, because his words are powerful. When's the last time our pastor in our churches promised a new building? Or, all these community leaders, we voted in, we're going to get a new YMCA, we're going to get a new computer lab. Ain't a damn thing showed up. It's the word of the black athlete. We admire him. He's a gladiator, but he needs a mind. It's not all about muscles. Your mind will take you further than your body. But once he starts realizing how powerful he is, because he dreams to exercise that political and economic weight that he carries, but he hasn't exercised it yet. And he needs to before it's all done. Because right now the black athlete's on a decline. With the fall of Michael Vick and the fall of Tiger Woods, he's tainted. So somebody got to step up to the plate. We got to have a covenant. We need to have an athletic convention. Where are we going to take sports? How are we going to keep the money in the community or with our families? You don't need an agent. You need a lawyer, because when the agent comes in and grabs the athlete from college, the first thing the agent does is separate that black athlete from his family. Divide and conquer. You got black athletes, in the NFL, NBA, but because of their agents, you got family members calling, want to borrow some money to get a little car or get a student loan. I mean, something. But they need a little capital to get it going. You got parents and family members scared to even call their own brother they grew up with, who's a professional athlete, just to borrow something, just to talk, to say hi. Because the agent says, oh, no. Let the agent invest your money. That's why Beverly Hills looks like it does. That's why these suburban communities look like they do, and these urban communities are going to hell in a handbasket.
What percentage of the professional sports agents do you think are black? Just if you have that information.
3%.
Okay. Wow. You said getting a lawyer. Something I really appreciated in the Slave Side of Sunday. You talked about the late Johnny Cochran and the class action lawsuit that he brought against the NFL because they did not have black head coaches, black assistant coaches, and you talked about the fact that a lot of the black players really didn't, get behind Mr. Cochran's effort. Can you share your thoughts on that?
Well, anytime you see the industry, every NFL team promises individual players money. And so every player is waiting for their pot of gold. And so they don't want to do anything to interrupt that, whether it's talking about the war, whether it's talking about racism, police brutality, prison system, or talking about racism within their own industry that they're competing in, because they don't want nothing taken away from them, because the industry, the franchises, are promising so much money that they will sell out their soul to get it. So I'm not going to say nothing. I'm going to be quiet as a mouse until I have a bad experience. See, if a player has a bad experience, then the truth is going to come out, because they feel there's nothing to be gained no more. But as long as there's something to be gained and they're in pursuit, they're not going to say nothing. But as soon as there is no more future, there is no more pot of gold to be attained, okay, then they're going to start talking. For me, it didn't happen like that. I wrote my book. I was talking like this. I remember I was talking like this my whole career. This was nothing new. I mean, any player that played with me knew that I wasn't no locker room lawyer. If a coach disrespected me, I would have to disrespect them, because I believe this. If you don't like the way I'm playing, just cut me and release me. Sports didn't find me. I chose to play the game, and I played at the highest level that the world's ever known, the NFL, the granddaddy of them all. So I wasn't born to play sports. I chose to play this, because the last time I checked, the Bible said God gives us free choice and free will to shape our own life to our choosing. You're not born a football player. You're not born an athlete. You're not born a rapper. That's what America wants you to be. So until we get that out of our mind and start pursuing our natural gifts and realize that oftentimes sports can be an interruption to us. A lot of times sports are an interruption for a lot of black men. And it takes years for them to reconnect to what they originally set out to accomplish in their life. You got black athletes today, whether in middle school, high school, or college, that had a bad experience from a coach. They're still paralyzed in that moment. They're still complaining about that coach. And this happened 15, 10, 5 years ago. And they just can't seem to reconnect to their life, their future that they once had, because that coach made so many promises. And that player and that mama and that daddy believed so much in that coach. They looked at that coach as if that coach was Jesus. That's what happened to Emmitt Smith when he retired. God bless his heart, Emmitt Smith, the greatest running back of all time in the NFL. I just disagree with his words.
What did he say?
When Emmitt Smith retired in 2005, and he was crying. He was very emotional, which I understand. He put his hand on Jerry Jones, his owner's shoulder, and said, I thank you for this life you have given me. I thank you for this life you have given me. You're putting him at the right hand of God. See, that is slave theology. When you look at those young minds looking at Emmett Smith that want to emulate Emmett Smith, they're going to emulate that behavior. They're just going to put more power into the engine of white supremacy. But what Emmett Smith fails to realize, when Jerry Jones purchased the Dallas Cowboys in 1988, he purchased it for $150 million. And now the Dallas Cowboys are worth close to $2 billion if you wanted to buy that team. So Emmett Smith got to realize he is the one that generated that wealth for that owner. But they make you feel as if they're doing you a favor. You're the benefactor. But it's the other way around. And if you wanted to get to the metaphysics of it, it's the womb of the black woman that sustains the sports industry in America, because she gives birth not to a natural athlete, but a supernatural athlete. Black athletes are the record breakers and the trendsetters. But yet we have no voice within the industry. You know? Doesn't make sense. We set the rhythm in America for sports, but we have no owner within the NFL industry. Doesn't make sense. The NFL, just to purchase one NFL franchise will cost you about $1 billion. Who generated that? Rome would be envious right now. But, and at the same time, we got to look at the spiritual implications of all this. What's the spirituality in all this, Anthony? What's the connection between slavery and sports in America and football? I'll break it down to you like this. You have 53 countries in Africa. Africa is the richest continent in natural resources in the world, yet it has the poorest people in the world. America has the greatest black athletes the world's ever seen, yet they live in the richest country known to man, but yet they come from the poorest neighborhoods living in the richest country. In between 1444 and 1888, there were 53,000 slave voyages to the New World. The slave ship Amistad, when the slaves took it over, they had 53 slaves on that ship. In the NFL, you have a 53-man roster. Just like the slaves, those men represent property, private ownership, and capital. The football field is 53 yards wide. In Cuba, they had hunting dogs. They called them nigger hunters. And during slavery, when them dogs left the Cuban shores and arrived to America, they were hunting runaway slaves. And to this day, if you wanted to call Cuba on an international call, you have to dial 53. You see, that's why I said my pro experience has shown the slave ships have turned into commercial airlines and the cotton fields have been transformed into football fields. So what's going on today? How did an enslaver show up when he colonized Africa? He showed up in a wooden ship with a leather whip. And how is he showing up in the ghettos and slums of America today? In a limousine with leather seats, passing out scholarships, saying, nigga, get your ass on this field and win me a championship today. So you can change the scenery, but the situation remains the same. But you got to open up their eyes and see. Not everything you pursue in life is good for you. Not all money is good money. Not all good people are good people. What we got to realize is what motivates us today. What truly motivates us today. Why do we do what we do? Why am I pursuing this woman? Why am I pursuing this career? Why do I want to play sports? Why do I want to play football? Why do I want to play basketball? Why did I grow up in the hood? Why is my daddy not here? Why are so much of us going into the prisons? Why is there 85,000 black churches in America And yet the ghetto is expanding, and the prison system is increasing with our numbers. Is religion solving the problems for the black community? Is sports solving the problems? What the hell is wrong with us? We got to get back to recognizing the God within ourselves. You see, we can't fight the fight on the football field. We got to fight the fight that's being played in the arena of our minds. And once we get that down to control, and once we start to reconnect to our inner strength, and not our muscles, but that mind muscle, we can change our lives. But if we continue to look for physical pleasure, if we continue to look to be esteemed by people that hate us, if we look to try to please people that never loved us in the beginning, we're going to experiencing the same type of racism. We're going to experience the same type of hatred, self-hate. We stop loving each other. We stop loving ourselves. We're in a constant battle of recognition, competition. We're competing with each other. And the world wasn't meant to be that way.